let's just sew whatever. Hey everybody, welcome back to my channel. In today's video, I'm going to be showing you how to make the Marcel barrel bag from Sincerely Jen Patterns. I told her I was going to pronounce it Marcel Barrel. I'm not going to, even though I just did. But anyway, this pattern is freaking cool. I don't test all of her patterns, of course. I've wanted to show you guys all of the patterns by everybody. There's just not enough mental bandwidth. So this is the bag. It is small but mighty, I would consider it. Hi, Ben. It's really cool. It's not something that I've seen. It may exist, but I haven't seen it as far as a pattern, but it has cat hair all over it. Ben, get out of the way. These two compartments here on the outside. So there's just big open slip pockets with two magnetic snaps. And then it has a zippered closure up at the top. It comes standard with, I think, just one zippered pocket, but you could duplicate that on both sides. I ended up adding a divided slip pocket. You can't really see it, but it's there. It's got these side connectors that you could omit if you don't want it to be a crossbody strap. I have made two of these so far, and this is the one that's in the video. I do go over how I interfaced it because I don't interface it quite like the pattern. I did for the first one, and for me, I wasn't a fan, but you may like it. So I always say, follow the directions for the first one and then try something that you think for the next one. I did also lengthen the handles from 16 inches to 18 inches, and I really like that size. I think it's a little bit easier of an arm crook bag, especially if you're thicker armed like me. I also used 1.5 inch webbing for the crossbody strap and used these connectors that are from the Guardian backpack from Lynn's Handmade. I think at the end of the video I show me making this because there was a lot of back and forth, but I essentially just used a chunk to make one side of it and then used another piece to make the adjusting part because I wanted those accents to be on both sides of the strap. So this is the bag. You could also add purse feet if you wanted, but I had an absolute blast making this bag and definitely plan on making more. It's one of those, like, once you get in the rhythm, it's gonna be quick, but the first one might test your patience, especially with the side panels, especially if you're exhausted like I was when making this bag. So I hope you guys enjoy. Okay, so I have my zippers prepped for the main zipper. I added 2 zipper pulls. Totally not necessary. I think it just makes it a little fancier. I'm gonna go ahead and start with my straps because I have a full bobbin. I am using the Guardian backpack strap overlays, and I'm using 1.5 inch wide seatbelt webbing. I just got this in from Bob and Jen's Odds and Ends, and I thought it matched perfectly, and I don't feel like making a full-on crossbody strap, so we're gonna have some fun with that. I am using waterproof canvas for the lining, and I'm using Sew Fuse Plus to interface it. I'll include links down below. Also, thank you so much to Alex, who has been tirelessly watching the videos and sending me the links. You are so appreciated. Thank you so much. But anyway, so the pattern recommends fusible fleece for this portion, and I tried it. It's fine. If you have a domestic machine, I don't think you'll have any issues with it. The pattern is very well thought out as far as that, and all of the instructions given are for the most basic, which is totally great. I love the way she writes her patterns. However, if you're here, you might be here for some other recommendations. So let's just go ahead and do that. I used a woven interfacing on the main fabric, and then I used the So Fuse Plus in place of that fleece, so you can see it fused there. And then I went ahead and did that for the lining panel as well. If you have a heat press, I would definitely recommend doing that with the waterproof canvas so it's less likely to melt. If you're using an iron, best wishes. I don't know. So that is how I've interfaced those front pocket panel things. And then the main panels, I have fused So Fuse Plus, just one layer to those, because all of that together is going to be pretty sturdy. And then waterproof canvas for the lining. And then my side panels, I've only interfaced with So Fuse Plus. I just did one layer. I think I might regret that and wish that I had done 2 panels. And if I do, and I remember to talk about it, it'll be in this intro, so you'll have already known. And then the bottom panel, I just used one layer of Decaville Heavy, and that's pretty much it as far as interfacing. I cut all of my connectors to 8.5, just because when I'm cutting, my brain doesn't go to quarters, it just goes to half. I don't know, let's make it easy. So that's my main changes. And then I also went ahead and cut my straps to 18 inches instead of 16. I like the 16, it's good, but I wanted a little bit more room, so we went ahead and did that. And then I had these pieces left over when I was cutting out my main panels. So I'm gonna try and do something fun. It might pay off, it might look terrible, but anyway. I was being very sparing with the amount of vinyl I was using, so these straps aren't quite straight. I'm sure you can see like jagged edge there and the very jagged edge here. I'm using a black vinyl from Bo-dee-oh, and I wanted to just use one roll instead of cutting into 2, so that's why I did that. Plus this was a partial roll, but you could absolutely get this bag out of a roll of vinyl from there. You could cut the bag. You couldn't like open the vinyl and be like, oh look, a bag, you know. So there's that. You didn't need to know that. Oops. We'll fold this in half. So yeah, I'm not really like totally sure my plan for this. So let's just go ahead and get some 1/4 inch wide double-sided tape to stick that together. If your machine is not a fan of double-sided tape, I wouldn't recommend using this much double-sided tape on a strap. Just a thought. This bag would look really cool with the double-sided handles. I do have a tutorial for that. Or if you have any of the bag stock patterns, a lot of the times, not a lot, I'm not really sure, but some of the time she does double-sided handles. Okay, so I'm finding the centers of these pieces. I don't know if I want to, I'm gonna go ahead and sew the handle first and then I'll add that like little overlay. I think I'll be happy with that choice. So I just folded it so that there would be no raw edges showing. And then I'm lining up the centers. I mean, I could have just made a double-sided strap, but there wasn't enough of this exterior fabric for that. So I was like, well, let's just play. Let's have like a little accent situation. Because I just figured like, once we get it on the bag and then you fold the handle, like it's gonna look really cool just being that small little chunk of it. I don't know. And something like this might be fun on the Ora Rosa bags as well, with the way they do their handles. This could be like a fun way to add a little accent. Oh yeah, I'm happy with that. And if you have like a thinner vinyl or something, you could use it to help add some strength to it. So there's what that looks like. Just got a little bit of fuzziness over here. And then I'll trim down the raw ends a little bit. Okay, and then I'm gonna go ahead and make the other one and we'll just kind of speed through it. Okay, so there is that all finished. Echo, stop. Ah, so cool. We'll work on this crossbody strap, which I realize is not part of this specific pattern, but still fun. Just trying to use up some double-sided tape we got here. These are kind of like the Brooklyn travel bag connectors, but they're raw edged. I just realized I'm not quite sure. Okay. Well, I guess I only need one of these since it's an adjustable strap. Well, oh well. We'll still have fun. We got this. All right. How do I make an adjustable strap? I feel like I've forgotten everything I was supposed to do. Yeah, I guess I can only do one. Is it worth it to just do the one? Probably not. Well, what I could do, which I might do, I think I'm gonna do that. Hold please. Okay, so this is probably a waste of time, but I'm using these weird things I bought to remove the slide adjuster of a 1.5 inch piece. These are the old, like, not wide mouth sliders, so it's not like I was using it as a slider anyway. And I was able to undo this piece. Come on, I did it once. There we go. So now it's just a rectangle ring. I couldn't find a black nickel one, and I didn't want to use like an actual wide mouth one just because I didn't want to. Okay, and that's that. So I'm essentially going to create, well, now is that even going to work? Like a connector. Yeah, it'll work for the piece, and we'll rivet that there. And I'll have another piece so that like one piece is slidey and one isn't. Yeah. Yeah, that'll work. You don't care. All right, right, so I've got this section. I'm gonna slide my hardware through. Pretty big chunk of that inside and line up those raw edges. Take that in place. So, pretty sure we want to like slide that through there and through here and through here. Stuff, like, it doesn't, I mean, it does, but it doesn't burn very well, which isn't a bad thing, really. Okay, so then that will be attached there. Yeah, I did it. You guys, we did it. And then this piece will attach here. Okay, great. We figured it. I knew we could do it. So basically I just cut the strap at a point. I think I did probably like 10 inches. You could do way less if you want. Added a rectangle ring. And there we go. I just don't think, no, it wouldn't have been really possible to do that and add a slide adjuster. But you could just not add the slide adjuster portion. That would probably be fine too, if you wanted to do something like this. That is, this is not necessary, but it looks really cool. It's like a guitar strap. I've spent so much time just making straps. If you have a thinner vinyl, you could probably do two pieces, two of these pattern pieces, and sew them together first so they're a little bit stronger, and then add everything. So go ahead and sew this line. do 2 parallel lines along the slide adjuster. Just because I don't want that coming undone. And the reason I'm not worried about this being a rainbow strap is I'm using Midnight Rainbow zipper tape. So it's already got a little bit of that rainbow hardware on the bag, so it'll blend in nicely. I don't know that you were asking, but I was questioning it. I was like, you know what? I'm not spending another 20 minutes looking through this hardware bin. Okay. I am very, very happy with the seatbelt webbing that I purchased from here. I feel bad that I bought so much from Joann's now, because it's trash. Okay, so there is our strap. It's kind of a bit much for how small this bag is, but I think I'm gonna like it in the end. So now that we've spent way too long on straps, let's get into actually making this bag. I might put these at the end. I'm gonna go ahead and start with the lining, just so that's out of the way. Because there's a lot of little prep steps, of course, for this bag, but it comes together relatively quick. We're doing an 8-inch zippered pocket, so if you're using a ruler, you'll want to measure out 4 inches from center to center. This bag is finished with binding, so there is no zipper pocket to leave open. I'm gonna lay the zippers starting, about 1 inch from the top. You could maybe go a little bit lower, maybe like 1.5 inches. Let's see. Yeah, so my zipper pocket starts about 2.25 from the top, and you could go a smidge lower just because of the shape of the bag. And you can of course add 2 zippered pockets to the inside of the bag just by doubling those measurements and repeating those steps again. And as always, there's so many ways to make a zippered pocket, and none of them are incorrect, unless of course you end up with no zipper pocket. Make sure that you cut into the sides of your zipper pocket. Looking at you, Brittany, if you ever watch this. And then we're gonna flip it through, press, and add our zipper. Grabbing my zipper with a single zipper pull. Oh my God, Connor. Get down. Connor is my cat. And he looks like he wants to crawl on top of the hardware bins. Maybe don't do that, buddy. Please and thank you. I like to leave my zipper pull out of the seam allowance and then pull it back in so that my zipper stays nice and straight. And then unzip, straighten the zipper, and continue sewing over all of that. And then we'll just fold the zipper up like so. And then lining side face up. And I'll just sew along 3 of the sides. Making sure you catch it all. And then I'm just gonna trim off that little extra zipper tape. And now for your lining, you could be done with just that one pocket. You could add a second one, like I said, but I'm gonna add a slip pocket. So I cut out a piece that is 12 by 6 inches, and I'm just gonna not baste, but I'm gonna top stitch the top edge. Or you could sew 2 of these together using a woven fabric to create your slip pocket. And then just lay it in place. I'm gonna go ahead and fold both of these into center pieces. Don't put it in the center of your table. Just line up those center pieces. And I'm gonna add dividing lines. So we're gonna baste along the outer edge and the bottom, but as I get to the center piece, I'm gonna come up, back stitch, pivot, do a little stay stitch, come back down about 1/8 of an inch from my previous stitching lines, and then finish basting. And then if there's any excess, I can trim that down, but there is my lining with 2 slip pockets, quick and easy. And then my bottom panel, I'm just gonna set that in the stack. All right. So I've got my side panels and the front pocket panel pieces, as well as my strap connectors. I'm gonna grab a nameplate so that I don't forget it. And then my 4 1-inch square rings, or rectangle rings, whatever, and 2 1-inch D-rings. I have my centers marked out, I think, I don't know. But I'm gonna use double-sided tape to tape down all of the center pieces. Again, we're talking about center pieces. I've been having a really hard time sleeping this week. I don't know why. Sorry if you don't care, but I mean, yes, I have a 7-month-old. That's not the problem, fully. I'm gonna need that again soon, but oh well. I'm gonna fold all of these connectors down to be 7.5 inches tall. I'm just gonna start with 3 of them. So I'm gonna do 1 of the side panel and then 1 of the main panel, and then I'll just fast forward you through the rest. If you are using a thinner vinyl, you may want to use some interfacing to help stabilize these strap connectors, or you could use a little strip of waterproof canvas, something like that. Oh my goodness. I'm just looking at the pile of stuff that's done, and I'm really excited. So hopefully I have the energy to get through this. All right, so we'll peel off the tape. I'm not taping the entire piece, just so when I fold over, my hardware isn't stuck within that tape. And then, yeah, like I said, I say 7.5 because I did not cut, I cut these to 8.5. I'm gonna fold it to 7. 7 should be good. Oh, yeah, that looks good. Because I want to have a decent amount underneath there. I am using the simple square rings from my website, but you could use the fancier ones as well. Fun fact, I actually didn't have enough money, or so I thought, to order the 2 types of square rings that I have currently. But when I had placed my order, I guess I didn't realize they were still in there. So when everything arrived, I was like, oh, well, okay, I have both. So yeah. All right, I'm folding my side panel in half and marking the centers. And then make sure you're getting your piece with the D-ring. Line that up. It's a little close to the top, but I like it. I'm gonna keep doing it. And then this is our main panel. I'm gonna fold this in half. I'm gonna snip the top center and the bottom. And then these will be placed 1.75 inches from either side. That looks much better than the first one I made. So 1.75. Gorgeous. Okay. And then we'll top stitch those on. Start with this side panel. And then you can add a rivet for strength if you would like. I'm using just a little piece of leather over the hardware to make sure that it doesn't scratch it or leave any scuffs on the vinyl. Sometimes they are unavoidable. It happens, but we can at least do what we can. You could try to add like side pockets similar to like the Blanche barrel bag if you wanted, but I think it would get a little too bulky since the bag uses binding to be finished off. So there is that panel finished, and then you can add rivets right there and there. Hopefully I remember to do so. All right, let's get snappy. Right. Oh, this is my side panel piece. I was like, oh gosh, what have I done? What's left in the box? We need 4 magnetic snaps. You can use regular, you can use slim, whatever you want. You can do whatever you like. I'm going to go ahead and mark out all of these pieces, and this is something you could do at the cutting table as well, or not to assume that you have a cutting table, but when you're cutting out the bag, you could attach these magnetic snaps then, just to save a little bit of time for yourself. And you want the male snaps to go on the pockets, and you want the female snaps to go on your main panel. Your main panel fabric really isn't important. That main pocket panel is, but you're not gonna see a whole lot of it. I mean, I guess until you open the bag, so it is important, but like, don't make it an expensive fabric. At least that's what my mindset is on it. Like, it's not gonna be seen. What does it matter? Okay, that there. That there. Great. 1, 2, 3, and 4. If you wanted to use more interfacing at these snaps, you could use little scraps of Deck of the Light or woven fuse. No. If you wanted to interface at these snaps, you could add a little extra of honestly whatever you have lying around. Okay, so there's that portion. Helps if you slice the holes open. Portion here, and I'm just going to go ahead and make all my marks and then do it. I don't know that you could get away with just one magnetic snap on each panel. I definitely thought about it, not out of necessity to use less, but I was just like, do we need this many snaps? And if anything, it's just a little bit more room for human error as far as them lining up perfectly. But it is really satisfying to have both snaps there. And like, do I really need to question every pattern designer's decision? No. Just follow the damn pattern. But I won't. So when I first saw this bag, I thought, well, maybe the connectors could go on this panel underneath the main slip pocket, so it's more of like a focal point fabric. And I just don't think it's like doable because of the placement of these snaps. and how high up the pocket goes, but you might be able to try and do more of a hidden strap connector on this main panel if you wanted. You just want to make sure that you interface it really well. So just throwing more thoughts out there. Okay, so then what we're going to do is put these right sides together. And if you marked your centers or whatever, that might be a great way to line them up, because with the hardware and the magnetic snaps, it's a little bit lifty. Like they don't want to line up quite perfectly. And then to make it a little bit easier for myself, I went and extended this marking, because my pockets last time were a little off because that marking, I got a little bit confused, like where do I start? So, just an idea. I'm so excited to sew these together and see how it feels, because I'm a weirdo. All right, stitch length at 4. And you just want to sew next to, but not quite through, your interfacing. Go nice and slow around that corner. And both of these pieces, the lining and the exterior, are very crucial to the outcome of your bag, so just take your time on them, because you don't want your magnetic snaps to not line up properly or anything like that. And I even wondered if the magnetic snaps were absolutely necessary, but yeah, they are. I was like, I wonder like if you want to make this bag even quicker, if you could, but no. And I think this is a really nice medium-sized bag. I would say it's a little bit smaller. It's definitely not as deep as the Tribbiani travel bag in the size small. So you may even be able to print this out a little bit bigger. To make a larger size of it. Trimming down the seam allowance. I want to increase my stitch length for top stitching, and then I'm definitely going to want to press these fabrics, and then just be very careful, very careful. That scared me. I was like, oh, I didn't top stitch the bottom. No, it's just the very top portion. Oh my goodness, yes. I am very happy with my interfacing choices so far. So then just gently poke along that corner. And if you're worried about top stitching or your seam allowances being too bulky, you could always cut down the second layer of stabilizer or Sew Fuse Plus or whatever you're using, just so you're definitely not sewing through it. But this feels super nice, like it's not too thick, but also it's got a lot of body to it. So I'm gonna press these really quick. Just to give you guys like an idea of what this looks like with those 2 layers of interfacing. Okay, so we're gonna start at that side panel. You're basically going to repeat how you sewed the pieces together, but you're top stitching. You don't need to baste along the sides just yet. And you do not want to baste these to your main panel yet. You want to make sure that you've added your zipper and then add it. I'm so excited. Make sure you pull out these side pieces all the way. I think this would look really cool with a little bit of piping along this pocket as well. Just like right around here. I think that would look incredible. All right, so those are finished. So you want your 2 lining main panels and your 2 exterior main panel situations. And then I need my zipper tabs. I've got my zipper cut to 11 inches. And then we've got 2 zipper tabs. Go ahead and just keep that from fraying. You could use tape to help hold everything in place, but I'm just gonna lay it down and clip. And then a 1/2 inch seam allowance for the zipper tabs. Make sure that your exterior fabric is right side to the exterior of the zipper, and then your interior fabric is interior. You get the idea. So then we're going to open this up and top stitch. And then I'll trim down my extra lining pieces. I was just using kind of a scrap of waterproof canvas that I had, and it was a little wider than it needed to be. Oop. Right. I am going to use double-sided tape along these main panels to help hold my zipper in place. So your zipper is going to be at the top by these magnets. And you could even use double-sided tape on your lining as well, but I have found that this tape doesn't stick well with waterproof canvas, so I'm just not gonna do it. Since my zipper is double-sided, I don't need to worry about which way it's going. You just want to center it out and then press into place. So now I don't need to baste my zipper on, which is great. It's a little time saver. We can just lay our lining piece into place, or you can tape it, whatever works. And I'm gonna move my zipper pulls out of the way, because with those magnets, it's hard to get right next to it. If you have to press your fabrics, be sure to press from the lining side so that you don't burn anything. And then you can top stitch through the lining and the exterior. Make sure everything's pressed nicely. You've got this nice thick edge. If you need to move your zipper pulls out of the way, do so. Make sure that you do that. Okay. Just got some schmutz from my cutting table sitting around. Okay, so this side gets hard as well because you've got two magnets trying to repel each other. So this is where slim magnets may be a good option. I don't have slim magnets on my website because we don't have room for them. Whoa. So right now the magnets are kind of trying to repel each other. It's great fun. But that's why this double-sided tape is really nice to hold my zipper into place for me. Okay. And then lining. I'm going to start on the end that the zippers aren't, and then I should have a little bit more time before I need to move them. And just make sure that you can see a little bit of your lining peeking through. Not much at all, just a tiny, tiny, tiny little bit. You want to make sure that you're catching it. So I'm pressing everything down as I'm sewing. And we've got plenty of room to move those zipper pulls now. And then rearrange. If your zipper got a little bit shifted, make sure you flatten it or re-stick it. Sounds like it's time to change the bobbin, so I will do that. We could have finished top stitching, but I wasn't about to risk it. I think we just barely would have had enough for that. Okay. Pressing my lining down, opening that up. If you need to, I would suggest what would I suggest? Whoa, why is that so off? Crazy. What? Oh, I probably just measured wrong. Clip your lining and your exterior pieces together so that they don't get mixed up. Oh my gosh. You know what I think I did? I used the lining panel for my zipper pocket, and I used the zipper pocket for my main panel. But hey, they were similarly sized, and I can just trim it down. Wow. Nailed it. Did a real great job. That's why it's like an inch off. Cool. Okay. This is going great. We're doing fabulous. So I just traced it a little bit. That is exactly what happened. Oh, perfect. Human disaster. Ah, well, guess what? It worked out. Okay. So everything's looking pretty good. Now you want to add your front panels and snap them into place. Move your lining out of the way. Inner lining, not your pocket lining. And And then we're gonna base that in place. So all of your other pieces out of the way, we've just got our main panel and that pocket. And then flip the rest of the lining out of the way and add your lining or your pocket panel. Should just snap satisfyingly into place. Such a cool shape. I don't know. I've not seen a bag like it, so it's really fun to see a bag like it. And then, so you've got these two dividing but it's kind of fun the way it's hidden when it's flat. Okay. So then we will add our exterior bottom panel. If you want to add purse feet, this would be the time. I'm just not gonna add purse feet. Top stitching this bottom panel is a little difficult, but I believe in you. You can do it. I mean, right now it's not, but in a minute it's gonna be. And I'm just following along the edge of the stabilizer. Okay, so we'll bring this edge over. You could honestly choose to opt out of top stitching it. I don't think anyone would judge you, but I wouldn't suggest only top stitching one side and not the other. And I only say that because I was considering it. I think I'll have to finish this bag another day. I'm getting just way too tired. And that's okay. Okay, so you've got this opening here, and you want to just kind of, honestly, I think unsnapping that might help. Yeah, that helped. So I unsnapped the side I'm top stitching, and you're gonna lift your foot up. Watch out for your zipper pull, your zipper tape. You don't want to ruin any of that. Just go nice and slow, keeping the other pieces out of the way. And push it down off your machine. I feel like I'm so close, but these side panels can be a real doozy. So we're just gonna wait. All right, so here is my bottom panel, and you are just going to sew that in place. You wanna make sure you're using pretty close to the same seam allowance you used on your actual outer bottom panel as well, because of the binding. So normally when we do like a drop-in lining or anything like that, you want your lining to be just a teensy bit smaller. So so it's nice and snug. But for this, you want them to be pretty close, or you're gonna have some awkward like bunching or pulling. Okay, so let's unzip our zippers, which they are, and we're just gonna kind of flip it together. Or like, well, you can turn it. You don't want it to be like this. Well, no, it wouldn't work. I was like, I guess it could, but you don't. I was gonna say, if you want it to be like a drop-in lining, you can do it that way. Why am I having so much trouble with this? I did it yesterday and it turned out fine. What I did was I took my hand in the exterior and pushed it into the lining. It worked out okay, I guess. We're having a great time. Yeah, and then I'm pulling at the top zipper and on the bottom of the lining to kind of put them inside of each other. And then once I've got my side panel through, I can focus on that and getting it through. Okay, great. We did it. So there's your bag. You did it. Congrats. So proud of you. Not really. We still got miles to go before we sleep. All right, so I am flipping my seams in opposite directions for the lining. So I've already top stitched my bottom exterior in. So with my lining here, I'm flipping it out, and that's so there's way less bulk at the bottom of the bag. When we add that binding and the side panels, it's gonna be pretty bulky there. So I thought that might help reduce it. This looks fabulous. I might have to keep going. I have to push through it. But yesterday, I think I was in the mindset of doing a normal bag and made my exterior bigger and my lining a little bit smaller. So there was a lot of bunching happening around here, but you can see there's no bunching. Everything's lining up really nicely. So let's go ahead and continue with this one. So you can see my bottom exterior, my seam is top stitched this way. So now with the lining bottom, I want to flip that. So they're pointing in that way, but I'm flipping it out. So it's gonna seem like it's a little bit wider, but it's just because we're flipping that seam. And what that's doing is kind of creating an equilibrium of seam allowances versus a lot of seam in one place. Say seam again. Okay, and we're just lining up all of the sides, making sure it's good. Okay. And then we're just gonna top stitch around that whole piece. You can start at the bottom or at the side with the zipper panel, zipper tab, whatever. And just baste it like 1/8 of an inch. I almost said baste, just baste. Yeah, we should stop. trim down all of your little threads. If your lining panel is sticking out a little bit further, you can trim that down. My zip tab here was a little bit short because I'm careless, you guys. I'm careless. I care a lot, but I could care less. Okay, my zip panel, or my slip pocket panel, it was a little bit wider. You just want to make sure it's nice and flush so that when you add that side panel, you don't get confused by any overlapping fabric. You want it to be nice and uniform. Do as I say, not as I do. Okay. Baste. I've got like 30 minutes left of this bag, and I wish I could say we're just gonna do it. I just can't. All right. So there is your new blood pressure cuff. I wasn't filming any of that. Oh joy. So I just basted the side panel lining fabric to the exterior. All I did was cut a big square, laid these right sides facing the opposite, so wrong sides together, and just stitched around the outside and then cut the excess fabric. I already have my center snips marked out, so then you just line up the center snips. I'm not finishing this bag today. Don't do it, Lauren. I might do it. And then the first time I made this, and I think I'm gonna do it again, I kind of copied from the Nacho bag, the Guardian bag, which pulling references from left and right, and I basted that top piece together. Instead of using staples that could come undone and then probably cut my little tiny fingertips, just adding a few stitches. You could even like whip stitch it by hand if you wanted, but just teensy tiny little bit, and only like 3/4 of an inch or so, because this seam is just so, the curve is so tight. It just helps hold that in place, and then you don't have to worry about it as much. Top, don't stop. And then if for some reason you think the top portion of your pocket panel could get sewn to your side panel at all, your seam allowances aren't right, and you need to rethink your life choices, or just your seam allowances. But definitely take a look at those before you start going in on these side curves. So once you've got that basted into place, you can find the center of your bottom panel. Hello. You can re-find the center of your bottom panel. Make a little bit bigger of a snip. And then honestly, if you wanted to, you could probably add some stitching to that as well, but it'll probably be okay. Okay, center. I'm gonna do it. Let's sew that down. Probably a bad idea. You should probably double check that everything lines up first, but oh well. So one thing I didn't love about the foam is that it just felt a little puffy in that side panel, so that's why I decided to omit it. But I don't think you'd be unhappy with the decision if you decided to add it. Like, it wasn't awful. There is that side panel. I would suggest focusing on one and then working on another. Make sure that your zipper pulls are out of the way. I'm gonna do it anyway. And then we will sew that side on. You want to kind of shove it out of the way, kind of fold it on itself. Definitely use staples if you're worried about things coming undone. If you're using waterproof canvas to bind this side seam, it adds so much strength to the bag that I really don't think you're gonna need foam. If you're using regular binding, it may not add as much. I'm gonna be honest, I've never really used it, so I don't know. But so far, so good. I felt like the foam in the side panel, even though it was out of the seam allowances, was fighting me a little bit when I was trying to sew it up. So that's kind of how I felt about it. We're at this bottom curve. I will say that I was surprised at how well the first bag I made, the side panels turned out. Like, as I was sewing them, I was like, oh gosh, well this is rubbish. Like, I just need to throw it away right now. This is gonna look awful. And then when I turned the bag, I was like, whoa, oh, okay, well it's not bad. So I don't know if maybe like my expectations were just so low that the bag exceeded them, not the pattern, but the bag I made from the pattern. But I was like, okay, all right, you're not bad. And then if need be, if you, let's say, sewed that into place with like a base, you could just go around the bag again, and I think I'm going to. I feel like I was super close to the edge and I'm gonna be able to see my basting stitches. What's nice about adding that binding is you're gonna be covering this up. So now I'm just trimming all of my little threads. Woo! Feeling pretty good about that. I bet it's gonna look awful. You can check from this side and just feel for any basting stitches or any holes that might have happened, but it's feeling pretty good. I was like, what is this? It's like a lid. Like steam's gonna come out of it and just be like, whoa, you know? Anyway, why are you still here? Me and you. All right, center snips get lined up along the bottom. And I'm just gonna repeat this process off camera. Well, I'll do a time lapse because I feel like I've done it the whole video. I gotta stay consistent. And then we'll add binding and turn it out and we're like done. All right, so adding this other side was very tricky, and it's because I didn't baste the bottom on as well, so everything shifted and I had to re-clip it more than once, I think. But I did go ahead and sew around that side panel twice just in case, so that's what I'm doing here, and it worked out in the end. All right, that side really kicked my butt. I don't know. I think I'm just exhausted, but I feel like we're in the home stretch. We're so close that we may as well keep going. And I mean, the side's already messed up. Let's just add binding. So for the waterproof canvas binding, it's just a 1-inch piece that you fold over. But Jen in the pattern suggests using fold over elastic, which I've heard is pretty, I mean, it's a fairly popular way to do binding, and I think it's pretty similar, but it's not really going to add any bulk, and this does add bulk. So maybe eventually I'll try the fold over elastic binding method. Seems pretty much the same, but for now we'll stick to what we know. Super excited for a cylinder arm to maybe tackle this instead. I don't know, maybe I'll use my current cylinder arm. No. Not today. I don't have any faith in this side panel looking good, and I could surprise myself when I turn the bag right side out. And maybe it'll look incredible, but I doubt it. I should have basted the bottom into place like I did on the other side, but I didn't, and I'm not confident, okay? I'm not confident. All right, hopefully you can see this okay and I don't knock it. I would not suggest making this bag with glitter vinyl and waterproof canvas. I mean, I guess it could work, but I could see these side panels being brutal. What's nice about the waterproof canvas binding is it really doesn't take long. So this is fine. Just keep going. Okay, caught that everywhere, and then we'll repeat on the other side. This just takes one width of vinyl or width of waterproof canvas binding. So 60 inches or so, which is great. You just need one little strip. Honestly, I'm not even sure which side right now of this bag is worse. But who knows? Maybe they'll look flawless. I tried sewing the curved panel in, the side panel in another way, like with the flat panel down and turning this out, and it did not work very well. I know some people can sew that way, and I think that's awesome because you're creating the shape it needs to be essentially, but I'm so used to curves being this way. So if you're having issues, you might be able to try it the other way and it might work for you. Okay, sometimes I get my clips, like, I think these are clips, but it's just a sticker. Ay, ay, ay. All right. Say a little prayer for me, forever and ever. Oh, crud monkeys. Well, it's just a little tiny bit of it that came loose. So what I'm gonna do is just unpick those seams and put it back. Ugh. It's okay. If this happened to you, you're doing great. You got this. I don't got this, but you got this. All right. Oh, you turd muffin. Hopefully this video doesn't discourage you from making this bag. I really think it's a beautiful pattern. I promise. All right, let's try again. I just need to squish this side panel out of the way a little bit more. And that wouldn't happen. You stay there, okay? normally I like use these clips. You can see how I'm like pushing. Yeah, I'm still recording. I was like, oh my gosh, if I'm not recording, I'll scream. To help push that right up against the seam I've already sewn through like 12,000 times. Nope, come back. I can't unclip you yet. Thought I could. I was feeling confident. The Erica Bowler has got me feeling confident. Alright. I missed a little bit right up here of my binding on the other side, so I'm just going to come in a little bit from that original stitch line. Luckily it's black, you can't see it. I probably still missed a little. Okay, so let's turn the bag now. I just figured out what time it was and I'm not happy about it. All right, so here's our bag. It's gonna be a tough one to turn. Wish me luck. I'm wishing you luck. You're here doing it with me. All right, unsnapping those pockets so that I can kind of open it a little bit more. And I'm gonna push one side out first. I swear to God, if these side panels don't look good, I'm gonna cry. Just kind of turning that out first. So grabbing the bottom panel, it's a lot of bag. There you go, that's your bag. Looks great. Okay, there we go. We're getting there. Okay. We did it. This pattern does include a video tutorial, and I imagine that Jen's tutorial is going to be closer to the actual pattern. So if you're curious how that one sews, turns, births, etc., definitely check her video out and subscribe to her channel while you're there, because she posts videos other than just her sewing patterns. She has some free ones as well, like free videos you can just watch, but her patterns do include a video tutorial that's free with purchase, if that makes sense. You guys, the side panels don't look awful, and I'm so thankful. Okay, my snaps, oh, they're in place. I'm quite happy with how this looks. right, so now we can kind of give a look over on everything. I'm really, really happy with my interfacing choice throughout the whole bag, really. I will compare what the first one looked like because I just was feeling very meh about it. So yeah, what was I gonna do? There was no other way I wanted to attach these. I was just gonna kind of look at what that looked like. These handles are so cool. It's literally nothing new, but it's fun. That little like, oh my gosh, look at where it sits. It's like right above. Ooh, I didn't plan that. The measurement for that piece was about 12 inches tall by 1.75 inches wide, in case you're wondering. Oh my gosh, cool. It's so cool. And it just adds some strength there. I'm gonna go ahead and rivet these on. Okay, so handles are attached. I just added a rivet. I must say, I'm very happy with how it turned out. Side panels look pretty good. I wouldn't say they're like incredible, but pretty good. Little thread there. And then we've got our strap here, which I think is kind of fun and like a little rockabilly. Adds a little pizzazz and color to it. So I hope that you enjoyed this tutorial. It was a little touch and go there for a while, but thank you so much for hanging out. I really appreciate that you spent some time with me this evening, day, week, whenever you're watching this. Feel free to leave a comment down below and let me know how you're doing, what's up. Connect. I read all the comments and sometimes I respond, sometimes I don't. But thank you guys all, not guys, thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you later. Bye. So this is the first bag that I made. You can see the handle connectors are a little bit short and I wanted to lengthen the handles. I used one layer of a woven interfacing and then the fleece in these side pockets, and I just really wasn't a fan with the shape. I used foam in the side panels and I feel like it made it a little bit trickier with sewing up. But other than that, I don't think I had really any issues with the interfacing. It was just these side panels. You can see how they kind of want to cave in a little bit versus this one, which really, you know, holds its shape. Yeah, you can tell. So it's really just personal preference, but yeah, there is the comparison.